All right, welcome. Here we are at the Coin Poker Cash Game World Championships for the PLO High Stakes Cash Game Champs. With me in the booth commentating is, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Fabian, or known as Suapix by some of you. Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you here. And my name is Richard Gaylor. I'll be joining you for the next month while we have some of the very best Omaha cash game players duke it out for cash and prizes. With a Rolex for the number one spot, there's going to be cash games held at the 2.5 limit and the 10.20 limit. Yesterday, I believe they had 60 tables running at one point, which is absolutely astounding. I don't think I've seen 60 games of 500 and 2K in my entire life. I wasn't around during Black Friday. Were you, Fabian?
I mean, I was playing like $10 sit and goes, so I haven't seen that amount of cash game as well. Yeah.
Got it. I hadn't even heard of poker before Black Friday. I was just a kid. So this was a brand new experience for me, and we're going to be running through a little over a dozen hand histories, some of the more interesting hands from the first day. It was bloody. I saw some people talking about punts. I'm looking forward to getting into it. First hand, do you know Veni Vidi?
I mean, yeah, of course. Like he's one of the most well-known PLO players, I would say. So I've met him once in person, but of course everybody, or like not everybody, but most people know Veni Vidi.
Yeah, well, I haven't had the good fortune of meeting him, but I've seen a lot of his play, and I did some commentary of him for the Galfond Challenge, and this guy is a monster. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in action again. Is that a cutoff limp at 10.20?
Yes.
Do you think that?
I would assume that we will see that more often from, maybe not from all the players, but from some of the players. And the reason is basically it's rake free and there's a big ante. So it kind of incentivizes you to limp in with a lot of hands, especially those that maybe struggle when they get 3-bet. So they kind of want to avoid that altogether, and then they just limp in and try to see a flop.
A lot of those are probably going to be hands with pocket pairs that don't want to raise fold.
Yeah, probably that. It can also just be like some single suited rundowns, for example, that are a little bit gappy or whatever. But actually, like it can be all sorts of hands. Like I'm sure we will see when we go through the hands. But yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What also is probably due to the there's a big blind ante. These are rake-free cash games. Rake-free cash games with a small blind, a big blind, and then a full one big blind ante. So players are going to be playing a little wider than usual. It looks like we've got Veni Vidi opening, Quincy flatting on the button, and Test 333 calling out of the big blind. Single raise pot. Dirk checks a deuce, checks around.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of whatever on the flop. I think when you're the guy in the sandwich between the guy in position and the raiser, it's tough to have like a very aggressive betting strategy. So you just naturally want to check a lot of your hands, and you will have like a lot of these like middling hands, like pocket pairs from like eights to queens and like some other stuff. They kind of wouldn't mind to bet the flop and then take it down, but also when they just don't want to put a lot of money into the pot against two players. So you're very fine just checking a lot of your hands, I would say, and then just checking a deuce once in a while is totally fine as well, especially if you just have like a middling kicker. So I'm not surprised to see a check here on the flop.
Yeah, got it. And then on the turn, Tess checking again. I think positionally we'd expect Tess to be the person with the most trips plus here. So to see Tess check, I think Veni Vidi's very happy to go here.
Oh, did Tess raise preflop, or does Quincy raise preflop? I thought Tess was raising.
Quincy. Oh, I thought.
Quincy. Okay. Then I got it wrong.
Yeah, Quincy raised.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, then on the flop, you definitely don't wanna ever bet. Yeah.
Anyway, Veni Vidi pretty confident with his deuce here. Bets turn. Quincy calls. Probably a lot of overpairs. Jack X for Quincy. Tess deciding to punish here. Pretty classic spot to try and bluff out two players that don't have very many strong hands. And Veni Vidi, a non-believer. Quincy bows out.
Yep.
River, we've got an offsuit king. So what? Some of Tess's draws miss. Some of his like 4 or 5 of hearts. Veni often is going to be having something like ace jack or deuce x that's deciding if he wants to look up a potential boat. That's more or less what's going on here. Tess piles for pot, says I've got it. And this is a highlight hand, so I'm guessing Veni looks him up, right?
Yeah, that looks like it. And
yeah,
I mean it's a tricky spot on the river. I mean his hand is basically a pure bluff catcher, but it's also very easy for Tess to just way overdo it with like a random jack or like even some other hands that he could throw in there, and then he feels just like going for it on the river. But yeah.
You're saying Tess might be bluffing with some like weak jack X?
Yeah, I think so. Against a bet and a call on the turn. So that's
jack,
what I would
5, 7,
think. Sorry?
Like a jack 5, 7, 8 type hand, too weak to call, doesn't want to fold,
but,
has good blocking.
But I think especially like a jack with maybe a pocket pair, so jack 8, 8, 7 for example, jack 10, 10, 3, some like he will have a lot of these hands I think calling pre-flop, even if he's not like it's basically, or when we look at it pre-flop, he's not closing the action in the big blind, but also Veni was limping in the cutoff, and I don't think Vini will limp raise a lot in that spot. So basically, the big blind still gets to call a lot of hands because he can expect just to see a flop very often. And so, yeah, basically all these hands, like a jack with a pocket pair, they make a lot of sense because even, yeah, it basically gives you some live outs against a deuce or even against pocket sixes if Vini has that. And if you have a hand like jack 8, 7, 5, I mean, sure, you can also use it as a bluff, but you will just never really improve. Like, I mean, you can hit a jack, I guess, but that's basically it.
You might not even be good if you've got a weak jack and you river trips.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so the miracle 2 outer. Well, I guess we'll find out if Tess had the. Well, let's just see. It would be so funny if it was just a totally off the wall hand. We've got King Jack 9-9. So do you think he's value jamming that river? What do you think's going on there?
No, I think he's I think his thought process is okay. I mean, he has the jack with the pocket pair, kind of what we thought could his bluffs be, and then when he has a king on the river, he blocks in position like Vinny from having a hand like king deuce or pocket kings, and maybe he assumes Vinny is folding a weak deuce or like a queen deuce even, but well, he didn't, and he was right. So I think on the river it's a little bit close because he has some showdown value, but not crazy amounts, because if you consider Vinny was betting into 2 and then calling a check raise, so he very often has trips or better here. But you beat the occasional like ace jack with a nut flush draw or whatever that Vinny could have.
I think he's got a decent amount of showdown. This is definitely an optional jam in my opinion.
I mean, I think it also wouldn't be like super crazy for Vinny to call with worse sometimes here, you know? So it's like, I mean, I guess that would be a different highlight then, but it's not unthinkable for Vinny to have ace jack here and think, okay, that guy has like jack 9-9-8 or whatever, and and call him, you know? So it's kind of an interesting hand.
Yeah, very interesting. I guess there's a coin was flipped on Tess's part, which was, does he have it, or is he looking me up? It came up with he has it.
Yeah,
that's a very first highlight hand going the way of Veni Vidi. The rich get richer, and we've got another familiar face, Jane Andes. I think are you close with him?
I mean, yeah, I've worked with and for him for a few years, and yeah, I'm friends with him as well. I like him a lot, and so yeah, nice to see him battling here in the coin poker streets.
Awesome. Yeah, I have some PTSD from playing with him when I was younger. He's quite sharp.
Yep.
So we've got a button open. I think that's a mandatory open. Tony 3-betting, never folding, and nut ace with a pocket pair.
Yeah.
at this stack depth. Got Tony.
I would
betting
assume
small.
that in general with the ante and no rake, there's like very little folding here in position for 100 big blinds. I mean, we will see a few because also there will be. I'm not sure if Nandas plays a limping strategy here on the button, but basically because of the ante, if you don't play a limping strategy, you can also just raise wider, and then you have some even weaker hands that kind of struggle against a 3-bet that you then fold. But most of your hands you will just call here in position, being this deep, I would assume.
So you're saying that you might shift some of your raise folds to being limp calls?
Yes, I think so.
So
I mean, that's even more attractive when you get shorter, but for 100 big blinds, yeah, you can also just raise a bunch.
So you're saying in this format with the big blind ante, we get to play some real PLO where we just don't fold pre-flop.
Yep. That's basically how you would play it in your casino as well, basically in your live game, right? No folding pre-flop, and then we figure it out on the flop.
Love it. Well, Tony bets small, probably wide here. Probably a pretty high frequency bet. We don't know that, but probably pretty wide. Bet small. And Jane Andes pounces, saying, I'm going to have a whole bunch of Queen X that raise calls here. You've got a bunch of aces, kings, jacks, tens, and some air. Let's put you to the test.
Yeah.
More or less what's occurring here. And Tony says, calling you down doesn't sound very attractive. Why don't we just click it?
Yep.
And
love it.
That puts a lot of Jane Andes's light raises in a cage, because here he is with, again, you've got those two live outs that you were talking about. He's got a bunch of backdoors.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and against the click bet, against the click back, I mean, the click basically punishes hands like Jane Andes's here, because, I mean, that's like, I see some people here out of position, they just jam, like if they raise, and that's just not what you want to do really. But here Nandas, and I think Nandas with his two backdoors, he probably, I mean, I guess he calls because it's in the highlights, and I think he probably should because he's getting a really good price. He wants to have some floats here. Tony could very well also be bluffing here. He could just be thinking, okay, I think you're bluffing, but I have nothing to call with, so I'm just gonna re-raise. So yeah, I think it's not totally unreasonable for Jane Anders to peel here and see what the turn brings.
Well, it's 340 to win around 1800, which that sounds attractive to me, and it sounds attractive to Jane Andes. That is a turn of turns where, ooh, exactly. It's a spicy turn. Tony checks. Do you think there's any merit in going smaller than jam here? We've got 1400 in the stack, 1400 in the stack, 1800 in the pot. Ever bet like 300 or something just to?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the best way to play this situation is, but probably I think betting something like 500 here is kind of nice. Maybe 300 is even better. I don't know. I think jamming is. I'm not sure if it achieves a lot. I think, like, I mean, we don't have a super strong hand, but I think it's strong enough still to bet small and call it off even. You know. So yeah, I'm not sure if we achieve that much more by jamming than by betting small, but we might have some hands that want to bet small here and fold. So well, basically for our range, like for other hands that we can have, I think I prefer the small bet. With this hand, I mean, jamming can't be that bad, but I kind of, yeah, would like to see the smaller bet, I think.
Well, Jane Andes thinks we should just stick it in and run it. And Tony has the bet 3-bet into. I'm so curious to see what this hand is. I think if you gave me 10 guesses, I wouldn't be able to guess this hand. It is. I mean, it's probably Queen X. Probably it's got to be Queen X. But the bet 3-bets to check call is
kind of weird. I think. No, I'm not sure if that's even doing it on the flop. But I think out of all the Queen X, I think it's even more likely than to be a boat like Queen Deuce to just go for that. But maybe that's not like 3-betting the flop, I think.
Look, I was just thinking that as well, but remember, this is a 3-bet pot, so I don't know how many deuce-deuce. Yeah. We've got maybe the king deuce-deuce over there or something. Like, it's pretty hard to come up with hands.
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Tony just has it. He's got the clubs. He's got the gutter.
Well, he has
and
it for
queen.
now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the river. Do they? I assume they're going once in this. Yeah, just once.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Coin Poker does have a run it twice option, but both people have to have that checked, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look like that was checked this instance. Jay Nanda's had his hand caught in the cookie jar. We like his float though. You think calling the min 3-bet, would you do that in retrospect, seeing what Tony stuck into his bet 3-bet?
I mean, if I knew he had a 4 in his hand as well, I would probably fold. But
Okay.
I think other than that, I think the price is good, and I think you want to call. I think it's good. Yeah. Maybe if you only have like one backdoor, you want to fold or something.
I can see that. The price was right, the river was wrong. Oh, they're going twice. And
they do, yeah.
Tony fills up. On to our third hand. This is at the 2-5 level. So there's both 10-20 tables with a 1 big blind ante and 2-5 tables with a 1 big blind ante. Here we have some players that I don't recognize. We've got Coin Count 11 coming in for a raise out of middle position. Hex Crypto 3-betting. What's the nuts for now? In PLO, it rarely stays the nuts, but we've got the nuts for now. And so we've got a 3-bet pot from middle and late position. Hex flops aces with a jack as a blocker. Puts it into B50. Pretty standard so far. I think we'd see that in the charts. And,
yeah, this seems reasonable.
Coin check call leads on a nuts changing turn. This is an interesting hand. I like this one. Hex has got the straight blocker. What do you think of this lead so far?
I mean, I think it's nice to see the lead implemented here. I'm not sure if I see this a lot that people lead for a bigger size here because they're kind of representing the straight. I personally tend to lead smaller in these spots because I want to say, okay, I have some like Jack 10, I have even a hand like 10-7, you could make a case for leading a little bit here. And I think a smaller size lets you do that in a better way, but that's just my personal preference. I think if you want to go big here, sure, go for it. But I think then Hex Crypto here, he has a jack, he has a straight blocker. I think he wants to call unless he really thinks his opponent is not really capable of finding the bluffs here. So, yeah.
Well, so I'm highlighting quickly that this SPR on the turn, stack to pot ratio, we've got 265 in the middle, 612 back. So they started a little deeper than a 100 big blind stack. So I like what you're thinking with the smaller leads on this board, on this turn.
Yep.
At this stack depth, do you think there's any merit in going bigger, or do you still like small?
I still like small, but there's so many things you can do. You can go for a small size, you can go for a big size, you can probably play multiple sizes if that's what you want to do. So, yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of PLO. There's a lot of creativity in this game.
Yeah.
And right now, someone started off with the blade with aces, and we're going to find out how creative Coin Count is. Pretty innocuous river. Shouldn't be. There's some maybe like ace-x hearts with 4-6 that once in a blue moon gets there, but pretty rare. Pretty rare. Coin Count saying.
We also have to see here these. The preflop ranges are quite a bit wider, so we're gonna see some hands here that are not in there as often in regular ranges, but like maybe we see let's say Coin Count could come up with a hand here like King 6-5-4 single suited. Like, I'm not sure if that's a thing, but like I wouldn't be super shocked, with no rake and with no and with the ante, and if some people maybe even get a little bit more out of line even. So yeah, that's what we have to consider here. So basically I think 6-4 is in there a little bit more than it should be, but still like the main value bets will be like maybe pocket 10s and 8-9 here, I think, for out of position.
I was just thinking that some 10-10, maybe once in a blue moon, like a Jack 10-9, Jack 10-8.
Yeah.
But when Hex Crypto has Jack 8 in his hand And this run out, at least the river looks pretty clean. He says, I don't believe you. And coin count shows up with the King 10 9 4
King
with
10.
hearts. So flop to gutter, turn to pair, and on river said I don't care. Stuck it in.
Yeah.
I really like how coin count played this hand.
Yep. It feels like. Also, I mean, he has hearts on the river, but I think most other cards in his hand like kind of want to like. The 10 is nice to have, the 9 is nice to have, the 4 is nice to have. So, yeah, it's a nice bluff to find, but he bluffed the wrong guy apparently, or maybe just was unlucky running into his hand.
Well, one of the beautiful things that we're going to be seeing in the next couple weeks is that given, as you mentioned, no rake and the big blind ante, players are going to be getting much more out of line than usual. We're going to be able to see some players play hands that they might not normally. I don't know if much of the population at 2-5 nowadays is opening the King 10 9 4 double. Maybe they are folding it somewhere around like the 6 cutoff.
Yeah.
And so we get to have hands where you just have a little bit more air, and that means players are going to get creative, going to stick their hand in the cookie jar, and we'll see. And in my opinion, this is a beautiful hand of poker.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think we will also see. Or it will be interesting to see how this game develops, basically, because all these players can see the winning hand. So even if you win the pot with a bluff, your hand gets shown to the table. And I played a little bit today, and it's kind of interesting, like what it creates, it took me a while, like a few orbits, to get used to it, basically, because I could feel that it impacts my decision making, although it shouldn't really. Like, of course you have more information and you should take that into consideration, but I could feel it was like it took me like a little bit to get used to it. And as they keep playing and they play a lot of hands against each other, they will pick up each other's tendencies, and I think we will probably see some even crazier hands like 2 weeks from now or whatever, when these players have built up a history more and they saw some showdowns and so on. So that will be interesting.
Well, that's one of the beautiful parts about poker, is that you're constantly adjusting. And I'm sure these players, especially the players at the 10-20 pool, are going to be having some wild deviations. Here we have it folding to Quincy in the small blind. We've got some blind on blind play at 10-20. So Quincy limps, Ashore, Banapal, ISOs. Quincy does the limp re-raise. I've seen this in some anti-blind on blind sims. Don't know, I don't think I've looked at this particular spot, but it's got a pretty hand.
I think it's
deep stacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically when you decide to limp this hand, then it's absolutely to limp raise it. So that's not a surprise. Yeah, there's different approaches here. Some people I think will play a mix of limping and raising, and some people will maybe, like, you could even play a strategy here where you just only limp, but then limp raise somewhat aggressively with your stronger hands. And the reason why you would only limp is basically you want to play so many hands here with a big blind ante and no rake, so you want to limp a lot, and then if you keep raising your strong hands at the same time, your limping range will be very exposed and vulnerable. So these guys, or some of these guys, will put strong hands into their limp raising range, and then to balance those strong hands, you also need to put in some bluffs. But I mean, King Jack 10-8 is like kind of a bluff, but of course it's also a decent hand that connects with a lot of flops and so on.
Well, one of the beautiful things about this challenge is that we're going to see people playing very different strategies. There's so many different approaches to playing PLO, even in a post-solver world. And as you just mentioned, there are pros and cons to both decisions. If you're going to be having opens, if you're going to be limp raising, how wide you're going to be limping in the first place. I think that's the beauty of the game. That's why we play.
Yes, and exactly.
Ashore Benapal decides to flat. We see an ace high board. Quincy's bombing it, which this is we should strap in. This is gonna be a hit. Ashore Benapal says, "I don't believe you." Quincy piles on one of the best turns. One of the best turns he could see, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're cooked against like ace king of clubs, but
yeah,
for the most part, our equity is pretty clean. Ashore flats. He's probably pretty strong here. Do you think he's calling naked ace-4?
Yeah, I mean, maybe folding
10,
some. Yeah, with a 10-10, maybe it's a little bit dicey on the turn already because you block a hand like King Jack 10-8 that could have improved on the turn.
Ace 9, 9-4. I could see that mucked.
I mean,
I could see it mucked.
yeah, I could see it. I could see it, but I think not sure.
I'm not sure either, and I think we're gonna find out because this is probably going jam. Yep.
Yes.
And,
I mean, ace 9-9-4 won't fold on this river, so.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. And any guesses before we flip over the cards?
He can still have a lot of hands. I think even ace queen, like he's not always raising ace queen on the turn, so he can have ace queen. He can have some. I would say out of all the two pairs, I think I would. Maybe that's also not true, but like maybe I was about to say the least likely two pair is ace 6 because that has some incentive to raise the flop, maybe. But other than that, if he has ace queen, I wouldn't be surprised. Like even ace king can get sticky here sometimes. It's kind of interesting because of because it's so early in the challenge, and it depends what you think about their limp raise strategy. You know, if you, I think if the more you respect your opponent, the lighter the calls will be, because some people will go for some limp raises, but they won't find they will just do it with like very strong hands, and then yeah, it's tough to call them down on such a run out. But if you know your opponent has a lot of these rundowns in there and like some other hands, yeah, then you want to flick it in sometimes. My guess here would be we just see a boring call from ace queen. So if you let's see, oh, ace 6. Okay, that was the one hand where I thought, okay, especially with the, it's interesting. I mean, like, yeah, I was about to say as well with the 5-3, but I guess they're like pretty deep on the flop.
Well, the problem is if you raise, Quincy doesn't get to bet jam king high.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we would never have seen this. He played a hand as a protect and got the max.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Mahasajan opening out of middle position, Jablinski flatting, and the big blind squeezes, flatting out of MP and small blind 3-ways 3-bet pots. That's a whole lot of equity for Jablinski. Looks like a mini spoiler there, to be honest. It looks like this hand's sticking in more chips. We've got bets, a small bet from God from Stock, which I find very interesting on such a dynamic texture. Mahasajan coming along, Jablinski taking his non-nut equity, non-nut straight draws, non-nut flush draws, and not bloating the pot, deciding just to call. Check.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very peaceful too.
Yep.
Peaceful.
Oh.
Jablinski still having basically a bluff catcher. Decides not to value bet it. And MP jams. That's a spot. On the flop, Mahasajan flatted the small bet. Do you think, how much of his 9-7 deuces, 7-7, how much of those do you think are just sticking it in on the flop versus flatting and being a boat here?
I mean, his SPR was kind of small on the flop, right? So I would expect like many of his 9-7s to stick it in, but I could see some calls with some sets, or maybe his strongest 9-7s if he has like ace 9, 8-7 with a nut flush draw or something like that, you know. Maybe those are his slow plays.
Here
I'm not sure. Like it's Sorry.
We have the 8 of clubs, which is getting rid of a decent chunk of the boats that have the world.
That's true. Yeah.
Some of
them pretty relevant. Yeah.
Couple of them.
Yeah. We also block a king, but do you think that's super relevant against him here? Like, do you see like? I don't see many kings flatting there in the sandwich. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah, king 10-9-8. That's about it. Then didn't bet the turn.
Yeah, that's. Yeah,
so it's really flushes and boats that we're concerned about, and we lose to all the flushes, and we lose to all the boats.
Yep.
That's a tough spot. Let's see what Jablinski thinks he flats, and there was the opportunity for God from stock to show up with like King King here, so they fade that, and Queen Jack Deuce with a Queen of Clubs.
Ooh, interesting.
It's a pretty aggressive bluff.
Yes, and if you look at, he's calling that on the flop. That probably means he also has more kings than we expected, right? Maybe not on the King of Clubs. Maybe he's calling kings with the King of Clubs. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
It takes, if I was in Jablinski's shoes, this takes a hand where I'm grimacing and saying, okay, I guess I have to defend, and turbo calling. in the future. But I think that's nice of Mahasajan taking his Queen of Clubs, leveraging it, trying to get it through, doesn't succeed. But I think that was a good effort. Another 2-5 hand here. Bam Bam Man opens from early position. Wig Splitter flatting out a cutoff squeeze from the button with no card higher than a 4 in his hand.
Love it.
Gotta love the action. Am the best cold 4-bets and a flat. This free flop's pretty straightforward so far. Can't fold a double suited, double paired hand. Flops.
Yep.
Enough to call it off. We see small. Small is very normal here. He bets.
Yes.
Bets tiny. Goes bet flat. And the decision point. Are we more or less priced in against a flush here?
Yeah, and even like, also Am the Best doesn't need a flush to jam here. Yeah, we're never folding a set. We have equity in case he has a flush. Against everything else, we are doing very well. So yeah.
Snip Snap, as you mentioned, doesn't need to have a flush to jam here.
Yeah.
And they're running a wrap against Pocket Fours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice
Yeah,
hand by Marimba.
He actually, I think they're both kind of happy about it, like Am the Best, when he gets a snap there on the turn, he's happy to be in such a good shape, like he could just be dead, but he has some outs, so that's pretty good for him. And Marimba got it in with the best hand, so also not bad for him.
Yeah, it really shows how much players are going at it when you have an early position open, a cutoff flat, which can still have a couple pocket aces, a button squeeze, and then the small line decides double suited gap to run down to 4-bet, stick it in. That is, these players are going at it, for sure. And next up we have the 2-5 hand, Queens opens 5-handed. This is really MP. Button flats. Big blind's along for the ride. Pretty good board for the big blind. Early position, worried about how low the cards are, hurting its coverage, choosing to check a non-nut space with a pocket pair.
Yeah. See
how it can navigate. Decides bink trips, and now it's going to defend the big blind lead. Looks reasonable so far.
Yeah, I think. Ooh. Okay. That's very interesting.
This spot sucks. Wow. Well, the big blind gets out of the way. He was just fooling around. And now we have a real decision on our hands. We're very deep. You've got 200 big blinds behind.
To me, the turn race smells a little bit like bullshit. But maybe not. But basically, I think when they're this deep, if he has like pocket 6s and pocket 3s, he really wants to start building a pot on the flop, I think. And so, but he could still have, like, the problem is he could maybe have ace deuce, but I'm not sure if ace deuce is always raising there. So maybe 6 deuce, deuce 3 is possible. So, but I could see it also just being like a random, like, again, 6 with a pocket pair, or 6-3, and like, but the problem is the bluffs, it's kind of the same as the value. Like the hands that make sense to bluff here, they could also start bluffing the flop because they're deep and they want to build a pot for future, like to then bluff on future streets. But yeah, what do you think?
I would think my approach to this would be pretty simple. It would be, how wide do I think this person's cold calling? This is the player that just 4-bet stuck in Jack High last hand, I believe, Am the Best. So I mean, HUDs are allowed on coin poker now. I'd look at their VPIP. If we're like south of 30, 35, I'm stationing this because they just don't have it enough. And if they're wider than 35, we've got a real decision. So
Okay.
I mean that's just how I'd approach it. Pretty. It's 2-5, pretty straightforward. I think it's pretty hard to have 6 deuce. I think most of the time when you do hit this board and it checks to you 6-6 3-3, I think they're majority betting. Population's probably majority betting that on the flop. I'm not folding here. I don't think people have enough pre-flop hands to be able to. I mean, this is even a good river. We're beating ace deuce now.
Yeah.
That can conceivably bluff river.
Yeah.
I think this is a call snap, call turn snap river, and probably
we're now losing to 6-3, but yeah.
Yeah, but then 6-3 that didn't 6-3 that checked flop.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where they, that's a tough parlay, and Am the Best trying to show us he's the most creative, and honestly, turning the diamonds, I don't hate the play. It's just repping really thin.
Yeah, it's repping really thin.
Here we have a 2K hand. We've got Venom opening, K-Tall 3-betting, Tess out. So big blind, small blind versus button, pretty deep, 100 BBs. K-Tall takes a straight board, goes B33, pretty standard.
Kind of I think the C-bet is somewhat standard, but the 3-bet is a little bit aggressive, right?
I agree. Yeah. Of the Ace King 5-4, if we are 3-betting single, we're probably not doing this one. With the king
that's also
spades.
what I thought.
Yeah, this is taking it to the streets for sure, which is the theme that we've seen all day. So if you're 3-betting this, you're not checking this flop.
Yep.
Great backdoor equity, front door Broadway draw, and this board being pretty good for your range. Chooses to barrel for a sizing that sets up like 0.6 on river, I think. This is the real decision point in the hand. Once we bet flop, we're probably betting turn. Do we stick it in on this? Additional straights come in. I'm just saying.
I would, but I think, I think the turn is not as clear, even if we block the turn pair. But I think now that we got to the river, I think we want to stick it in. I don't expect like so many straights to fold, but there's still other hands that can fold, like some sets and 2 pairs still in there. Some 1 pair with a flush draw that can fold and so on.
King with diamonds, something like that. King 9 of diamonds,
for example, or ace, like ace king jack. Yeah, I wonder if some of these hands will also raise flop, but like ace king jack with diamonds or whatever, stuff like that, basically.
I could see that playing aggressively on flop, but if they flat for sure. I mean, we're basically saying there's a bunch of like middle 2s and worse that we're just gonna punt this in and see if we can get to fold. So if you get called here by a queen high straight like queen 8, you're not worried. You're just hanging on. Okay. And Venom has, I love this little wait and pause moment before I slipped over. Yeah, so two pair does river a straight.
Yeah.
And so we've got people, they're not playing the nuts. We've got ace king 5-4 imperfect nut suit. We've got ace 10 9-8 single suited to the 9.
Yep.
And they're playing for stacks. Gotta love it.
But if we look at his hand, he can easily have the same hand with a 7 instead of an 8, and then you have 3 pair on this river. Still a potential like calling candidate, but it's a lot harder, I think, to make the call with 10-9-7 compared to 10-9-8.
This is a brutal river for 10-9-7.
Yeah.
10-9-7 with diamonds, you're probably not even thinking about it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But, so I think the big blind does get this through a decent amount.
Yeah, I would agree, yeah.
And as opening, Mono Viking, I believe that's a very established regular. 3-betting.
Okay.
Jianenda's.
I am very unfamiliar with the regular nicknames on Coin Poker. I've only played some. I know some of them, but I've mostly played tournaments so far.
I see.
But I will dabble a little bit in the cash games as well now.
He's stacked me enough times.
Okay.
And Jianenda's over here playing raise call, checks this board, probably checking super high frequency. Mono Viking stabs small. Jianenda's defends. Pretty straightforward hand so far. Jianenda's checks. One of the major decision points in the hand now. Which hands are we choosing to defend turn with? Here we have one of our best pocket pairs with a 10. This is probably one of our earliest defends. Jianenda's
I think
defends.
so, yeah.
River, pretty innocuous. Doesn't really complete too many hands. Pretty hard to deuce 5. Very, very rare 5-7 here from Mono Viking. Now it's a question of how much pocket aces, how much 10-10, how much random 3xxx you've got.
Yeah.
Jianenda's has to decide if he defends this. And the bet's not 17.59, by the way. It's a little bit less. He's got 11.88 in the stack. Do we get stacked here?
The question is, how relevant is the 10? I mean, I think it's always relevant, but also is he value jamming aces here, for example, do you think, on that run out?
Yes.
I think so too. So we have some, like, maybe we'd rather want to call down with ace 10 than this combo, but I mean, it feels like king 10 just gets stacked.
I think king 10 sticks it in as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mono Viking can have all different kinds of hands, to be honest. I mean, just however creative you get pre, and then you're probably just tripling off this board with whatever ace queen 6-8, ace queen 5-9 double type stuff. I think this board might even get overbluffed. And
could be.
Jianenda's says too strong to fold. And this is the most interesting part. We get to see what Mono Viking was up to. Aces with a 3.
Yeah, that's not even. That's a little disappointing to see, you know. If it was just like some bare aces, we could talk about. Oh, that's a nice thin value bet. But aces with a 3 is just okay.
It's a slam dunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is our last hand. Another 2K hand. We have I punt, min raising. Interesting. Jianenda's 3-betting. King, Queen, Jack 7 double. Super deep. 300 bigs deep. I punt flats. Jianenda's gets a phenomenal board for his hand. B50 is pretty. I actually don't know what standard 300 bigs deep, but it's shallower stacks. This is totally normal sizing.
Yeah. I think for 300 is dicey. I mean, there's different approaches here. But I probably wouldn't go B50. I think I would either go smaller or bigger, depending how I want to play it.
I understand, yeah.
But, I mean, it's also nothing particularly wrong with the size. It's just, my own preference.
And Jianenda's bet calls. I punt doing a non-pot sized raise here. He clicks it. Not a min raise, a little bit bigger, but he clicks it. This puts a ton of Jianenda's hands in a tough spot. All of his one pairs, all of his gutter draws, all those hands hating the in position raise. So I punt maybe doing this liberally. Jianenda's potentially onto that, although he is dead to the value of I punt, like kings and queens, king, queen, queen. Jianenda's decides to still call. We see an 8 bringing in a flush draw. Jianenda's checks, and I punt piles. Okay, now the stacks are in play, and Jianenda's has a hand dead to value that blocks value. It blocks value, but it's also dead to value.
Yep.
He says these cards look too good to me to fold. Sticks it in, and we get another river pair. Whole lot of pairs for Jianenda's, and always checking there. And I punt. Is this a punt or not? Who knows? What do you think?
We will see. I mean, I think I saw the hand on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I think Jianenda's posted it on Instagram. So.
Okay. Well, let me take a look.
Well,
I like it.
You're probably not posting a hand when you get stacked for 300 big blinds, so.
That's true. I also I don't expect Hernandez. I'm surprised he called this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, I think it's a. I mean, you have a bunch of. I mean, when you call a pot size bet on the turn, right? Like you have a range full of bluff catchers, and some slow plays. But I think my first thought when I saw the hand from Jay Hernandez was I wouldn't have bet the flop with this 300 big blind steep. I feel like because for 100 big blinds, this is a board texture that we're gonna see bet with a very high frequency, basically, if not with all of our hands. But for 300 big blinds deep, when we're out of position, we have to be a little bit more careful. And then these like top two pairs that don't have much backup, they perform quite well to protect our range, to just go into check call mode. Potentially check raising at some point, but like the default, just like to have like a very solid check calling hand. I think that would be my approach. Now, when you start betting this is exactly what you sign up for, and I mean it worked out for him here. So, well played, I think. But yeah,
Well,
it's not an easy call to make.
the real question, and I'm sure these guys have played a lot. I've sat at tables with both of them while they've played each other, so I know they know each other. And iPunt is a very aggressive player. Do you think Jay Hernandez chose an attackable sizing that looked strange at this stack depth in order to induce?
That could be very possible, yeah.
I think
But
that
don't you
is
think
the real question.
it still feels like there's, especially when you have only one backdoor flush draw, and that's not even that great of a backdoor flush draw, there's a lot of ugly runouts, and it feels to me like even against the check, iPunt will also just be very aggressive. So you still want to have some hands to protect your checking range, right? So, but yeah,
I think
they have a lot more history. So
Jay Hernandez might have showed up to this hand with a little bit of rope. I'm not saying it was a read. I think it might have been a before the hand even occurred type read. Taking
Okay.
a strategy. Yeah. Anyway, that's my guess. Given he looked him up on the river, I understand that we've got great blocking effects here and all that, but it's very very rare for you to stick in this many chips on the river, this many chips on the turn, and your opponent is cooked to 0% on the turn, and for you to correctly do that, for everything to come together, makes me think some of this might have been.
There's some rope.
Yeah,
okay.
I think there was some rope. Anyway, nice hand, Jay
But
Hernandez.
I think it's a great hand to finish this.
Yeah. What a great set of hands. I really appreciate you coming on board. This was an absolute pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Thanks for chopping it up, talking shop, and I hope everyone enjoyed watching. This was day one of Coin Poker's Omaha Cash Game World Championships. We will be back later this week, covering additional days people will be playing for the next 4 weeks. So if you want, you can log on to Coin Poker, fund your account, and hop into 2.5 or 1020 and duke it out with these guys. If you just want to watch, stay tuned. We'll be bringing more hands to you in the next few days. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.